This week we're going to be focusing on Paul. Paul, as you know, is one of our favorite characters. Paul did a lot of letters, and a lot of the letters that Paul wrote, they have some delicate topics in them, and we're going to touch on these topics to kind of give us some feedback, some knowledge as to the culture back in these days. So we're going to read from Second Thessalonians chapter 3, verses 6 through 15. And it says the following: In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, we command you, brothers and sisters, to keep away from every believer who is idle and disruptive and does not live according to the teaching you received from us. Idle, as you know, being people who don't do anything. Now, this is something important to us right now because most of us are doing just that. We're being idle. We're kind of being lazy. We're not doing much. And maybe not because we want to, but because the government has imposed these laws and regulations. Now, I'm a bit worried because maybe some of us are actually enjoying this idle time. But the Bible is clear is that we need to keep away from believers who are idle and disruptive. Okay, so here's the key word. While this idleness might make us feel a bit down, the Bible condemns believers who are idle and disruptive. Okay, so if you're just minding your own business right now, if you're just at home, not doing much, doing the best that you can, you're good for right now. Verse 7: For you yourselves know how you ought to follow our example. We were not idle when we were with you, nor did we eat anybody's food without paying for it. On the contrary, we worked night and day, laboring and toiling so that we would not be a burden to any of you. We did this not because we do not have the right to such help, but in order to offer ourselves as a model for you to imitate. So Paul says, while we were with you, we were active. We were doing things. Now, as I said, it's kind of difficult to do that right now because of the current situation, but there are some things that we can do at home. I'm not going to give you any suggestions or tips because I'm sure you guys have heard this from your parents. My mom constantly telling me to do things, to not be bored. I'm not going to do that. What I'm trying to tell you is that this is a problem that we need to acknowledge, but we also need to recognize that there is very little we can do about it right now. It's sort of like a test. We simply have to endure it like a storm. Verse 10: For even when we were with you, we gave you this rule: the one who is unwilling to work shall not eat. A rule given by Paul. And let me say it again: the one who is unwilling to work shall not eat. Right? So it kind of gives us a glimpse as to how the culture was back then. It's not as easy as it is right now, in no way. See, back in Paul's day, back in Jesus' day, you had to work for your food. You couldn't just sit at home doing nothing while your mom or dad cooked. It was different. I'm sure that most of us wouldn't survive that culture because we would simply love being idle. We wouldn't do anything. If we were hungry, we would do just enough just to get some food in our mouths. Verse 11: We hear that some among you are idle and disruptive. They are not busy. They are busybodies. You know what busybodies are? People who go around chismoseando. People who pry around in other people's lives. People who are actively looking at other people's life and try to criticize them and saying, I wonder what's going on with them. Or what's this person doing? We know those type of people, okay? Surprisingly enough, sometimes we don't consider busybodies to be us. We think that it's other people who are doing that, and we are just keeping to ourselves. We are minding our own business, but sometimes it can be us. Such people we command and urge in the Lord Jesus Christ to settle down and earn the food they eat. And as for you, brothers and sisters, never tire of doing what is good. So here's another small message for everyone. It says, and as for you, brothers and sisters, never tire of doing what is good. We often get into the habit of putting things into a balance. I've done 5 good things today, so God is going to allow me to do 1 bad thing, because the balance, right? What the Bible tells us is that we should never tire of doing good things constantly, and we should never be weighing these good things We should never be counting these good things because you're just doing it for your own self-gratification. And the final two verses: take special note of anyone who does not obey our instruction in this letter. Do not associate with them in order that they may feel ashamed, yet do not regard them as an enemy, but warn them as you would a fellow believer. Paul says, do you know any lazy people? People who are idle, who are not working at home, at church, or wherever? Don't associate with them. You know, they're not part of the crew. But don't make them your enemy, you know. Instead, warn them, tell them that they need to be careful about remaining idle. So here's the little message for everyone. If we know of any friends or families that are currently going through this situation, we need to redirect them to a word that's going to motivate them, and to a word that's going to let them know that this is going to pass. See, this phase that we're going through right now, a lot of people go through it constantly. Right now, it's just become a big problem because the world as a whole is going through it. And normally, when I've gone through a phase like this, I can talk to other people who are not going through this phase, and they can give me words of encouragement. Right now, everyone's going through it. So it's kind of hard to find encouragement when the whole world's going through this, okay? And I know one video is not going to change your mind completely. I know one message, one verse is not going to completely change your mind and make you feel automatically happy in case you're feeling down. But this is just the world that we're living in, and hopefully we're strong enough to endure what's going to be coming up next. So that's the study for today. I will be bringing another study on Wednesday. Bye-bye.